there's a very good reason for that. We've got a special guest coming on live from California. She's an absolutely inspirational lady. You're going to love her. But just as a quick reminder, we set up this show initially to help all the local businesses come on and tell us whether you are still open, pivoting. We've moved on. We're now talking to inspirational business leaders who are still open for business. And today I'm joined by the very lovely Stephanie Mears. And here she is in all her glory. Stephanie is a published author, motivational speaker, mother of 2 young children, 11 and 4, co-founder of the Empower Hour, Empowering Women, which is a fantastic thing. And yes, wrote the book, Women of Perfection, Perfectly Imperfect. And also, she is also the Vice President of Desert Capital Management as well in California, which is quite an amazing job or a position for a lady in a very male-dominated area. Stephanie, my goodness, how on earth did you get from how on earth did you get there? That's the thing I haven't told you guys and girls also, is that Stephanie, when she was 7, was living on the streets with her mother. So if you think you've got problems, you have nothing compared to what Stephanie has gone through. But she has changed her mindset and taken her life forward. Stephanie, please do tell us how you are where you are now would be a good one. Take us on that journey.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me today. This is absolutely wonderful. And hello, beautiful people of England. Hello, hello. So happy to see you. First of all, it is my something I'm really, really passionate about is the power of choice. And it's amazing how, like he had said, I was a child on the streets. I saw my mother was a drug addict. And so I saw everything from gang violence to sex trafficking to, just so many horrible, horrible things before the time I was 8 years old. And so at 7, I chose to call my grandmother and let her know what was happening exactly. And she helped me from there forward, and I ended up becoming adopted around the time that I was 8 years old. And because of that choice, my life massively changed. I now had a place to live. I had food to eat, which is huge when you don't have food to eat. I was able to take a shower, all of those things that we take it for granted every single day because we have those things. They really mean a lot when you don't have them. And so even today, even after, 30 years, I realize I still take a shower and think, oh, this is so wonderful, or how we have a house full of food and, this is wonderful. And so it's the very simple things in life that, when you don't have them, you really genuinely appreciate them when you do. And so to go from a child on the streets to a millionaire before the time I was 35, it was all about choices. It's all about moving forward. It's all about mindset. It's all about making the right choices, not just making choices, setting up plans and strategic plans overall, and really honestly, passion. If your passion is to be successful and your passion is in something that helps people, money is a byproduct of those passions. And so for me, I've been very passionate about helping people since I can remember. And it's amazing how, again, money's just the byproduct of helping people.
That's incredible. Can I just ask you, that must have been an amazing decision for a 7-year-old to make. That's got to be as tough as they get. But then equally, I can understand your appreciation then of being able to have a shower and having life-changing things. Charity I volunteer for in the UK is, we call it the hygiene bank, where we try and provide hygiene products for people that can't actually afford them. So it was a tough decision at 7. So what was the trigger? Was there anything that happened to you that was just like, this needs to change? Or
believe it or not, so when you're trained to see chaos consistently and it just becomes normal, you're used to it. So you don't think, well, this isn't normal, right? Well, what's really interesting is when I was 7, I think it was a Christmas Hallmark movie. And I remember thinking, that's the life I want. That is what I want right there. I don't want to be where I'm at currently. I want to be there. And most 7-year-olds don't think, you see a movie and think, well, that's what I want, but that was definitely my mindset. I mean, I was taking care of my little sister consistently and just dealing with so much. And I was just kind of like, this isn't normal. I realized once I saw that one of those Hallmark movies, that I was like, yeah, that's more normal. That feels like that's where I want to be. This is not where I want to be. And when I watched it, I remember thinking, something's got to change. Something has to change. And so I called my grandmother. I didn't know what was going to come from that call, but when I told her what I was going through, she immediately came and picked us up. And I'm really fortunate that she did, because my mother didn't come back, because she would leave us for stints at a time on the streets without coming back. And this time it had been, I think we waited like 6 months before she actually knew that we were even gone. So I'm really grateful that my grandmother came and got us that same day. And it's really testifying against my mother was very hard in court. And my sister was very angry with me for a really long time. So it was a very hard decision at the time. But at this moment, 30 years later, I'm so grateful that I made the decision, because sometimes the right decision isn't always the easiest.
No, but it's one, but it's one you have to make. And thank goodness you did. Crikey. So you moved, so did you? But you didn't move in with your grandparents, did you? Was it your uncle that adopted you? Was it?
Yeah, I actually moved in with my grandmother for a while, and then I was adopted by my aunt and uncle, who were had a place to live and had all of those normal things. And so, my life got a lot more normal. I mean, of course, not perfect by any means, but it got more normal, where the basic needs were at least filled. And I had received more love in that time period that I moved in with my aunt and uncle than I had ever received before. I got my first Christmas tree, and we got presents, and all of those things that really I didn't really realize were a thing really until after I had moved in with them. And now now that I have my own family, I might call it overcompensate a little bit, but Christmas is huge around my house, or Halloween, or all the things that I never did as a child really. I make really big for my kids, because I'm kind of vicariously living through them, and I understand that therapists will think, well, that's not okay. But I've worked with that with my therapist, by the way. But the reality is all I'm doing is giving my kids the best life that I can, and it's 1,000 times better than my life ever was. So as a child, I'm grateful each and every day again for the opportunities that have come my direction.
Oh, that's funny. But also, don't forget, your children are going to know your story as well. So if you're inspiring other people, your children will be, I would hope, equally, if not more, inspired as well. So you had some form of stability. So then, can you talk us through how you then moved into the desert capital management? Because you've been there for several years. So you went to college and.
Yeah. So after I got my MBA of business administration, I decided to stay home with my son for a couple of years. And I realized I'm not a great stay-at-home mom. I applaud the women who can do it. I mean, applaud them. But I realized that I'm not good. I know, right? Go girls.
Absolutely.
Or guys too. I mean, there's so many great stay-at-home dads too. I mean, phenomenal. I applaud both of you, because man, I can't do it. I tried, and it was not my cup of tea. So I went back to work, and one of the first interviews I went on, it was a 6-hour interview, and it was absolutely, it was amazing though, because it was one of the most motivational things I had ever been to, more or less an interview, and met my mentor. And ever since then, I got hired on immediately. We've grown massively. What's really exciting is I literally went from basically a secretarial position, even with an MBA and a pretty good resume before that. I went from a secretarial position to a vice president in just a few years. And what's really exciting is it's all due to a mass amount of work, hard work, but also, being willing to be trained and be educated and really go to the new levels that other people refuse to go to, and not be lazy. That's something that was really huge, because Once people get into a position, they think, okay, I'm good. I just have to do what's in my position. But if you go above and beyond, it's amazing how quickly you can get promoted.
That's so true. I've said it. We were just chatting before we went on. I said I spent years in healthcare, and you could see people just be happy where they were, and it was, they had so much more potential, but they were in their own little bubble, I guess. So do you think? Well, I think one of the big things you mentioned that you had a great mentor as well. So
yes, yeah. So he actually, I'm going to tell you a really funny story. Okay, so one of the things that after I got hired on, I was like, this is what I want to do, and I want to help the world, and I want to make a difference. And it was really funny because he was like, yeah, I think you can do that, but fear is massively holding you back. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I feel fine. Like I'm just a little bit afraid of flights or, flying. But what was interesting is he literally said, okay, we'll write down all of your fears. And I was like, okay, sure. It ended up turning into pages. I did not realize I had so many fears. And it was amazing because we decided to I decided to start conquering those fears. And once I did, what I did, the very first one was the first two of them were flying in heights because I hated even walking upstairs. That's how much I was afraid of heights.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And flying, every single time I would fly, I would get up there and laugh hysterically. And I'm not joking. Like I would have the entire plane laughing at me because I'm laughing so hard because I'm so freaked out. I think someone got it on video. I was so embarrassed. So, anyways, so that was one of my biggest fears too. So one of the first things I did to conquer my fears is we went on a team exercise and we all went skydiving. And I was one of the first people out of the plane. We went tandem, so that way, because just in case I didn't pull, I had somebody else attached to me. It was actually a guy about double my size. So when I tried to stand up, he could pick me up like a kid. It was hilarious. I looked like a really big kid on his belly. It was hilarious. So we got up into the plane, and it's so funny because as we were boarding the plane, I'm like, I got this, we can do this. And as the plane's starting to go up without a door, by the way, so I'm like right next to the door as it's going up, and I'm like, I can't do this. I don't know if I can do this. And I'm like freaking out, right? And so we get up to I think it was 9,000 feet. We get up there and he's like, all right, stand up. I'm like, okay, but you're not going to push me out, right? And he's like, no, I'm not going to push you out. You'll be fine. You'll get it. I'm like, okay, great. Okay. So I'll stand up next to the door, but no, push me out. Okay, sure. And he's like, okay, are you ready? And I'm like, nope, not ready to go. And he's like, okay, and go. And he pushes us out. And I'm like, oh my Lord. And it was one of the coolest experiences of my life. It was beautiful and quiet. The quietest I'd ever seen anything in my entire life. And it's amazing how in that beautiful scenery and that quiet that I didn't even realize, or at that moment, I didn't feel like afraid. I felt nothing but beauty and new experiences. And I felt this new strength that I had never had in my entire life. And as we were coming down to the ground, of course, I'm shaking and thinking, oh my gosh, I made it. I didn't die. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy I didn't die. Thank you, Lord, for not letting me die. I was just so excited. And I realized at that moment, you know what? If I didn't die at that moment jumping out of a plane, you know what? I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do anything. And I'm sure there's other ways that, that things can happen. But the reality is, you know what? It wasn't my time. Let's do it. Let's see the next thing. And it's amazing, since I made that decision to go skydiving, I've conquered pretty much every single one of my other fears. And that includes, doing some of the most adventurous things. And I learned I love adventure. I never knew I liked adventure because I was too afraid of adventure. So I've gone zip lining and rappelling, and I've gone swim with dolphins, and I've just done so many really cool things because I didn't let fear hold me back. And my mentor was the one who called me on being so afraid. And if I wouldn't have met him, I would not have the life I have right now. And I'm so grateful for the life I have right now, because not only am I very comfortable in my life right now with where I'm at financially, physically, and all these different things, but I would not have known my true self if I would not have conquered my fears. Those fears would have held me back and kept me in this almost like childlike mode that I didn't even realize I was.
Yeah. So do you think, so touching on the financials, so do you think you would have become a millionaire in your 30s without overcoming so many fears, but then you just wouldn't have been able to express yourself. So it's like, yeah, the money's great, but actually it's the ability to express yourself freely that is more important.
Exactly. So I've wanted to write a book for over 10 years, literally over 10 years. And I knew I wanted to write a book, but I was always afraid to write the book because what if people think bad of me? What if people mock me? What if people are saying mean things to me? And then I realized, you know what, like last year, I finally let go of that fear and said, you know what, I'm going to share my story. I'm going to tell people where I came from and what I had to go through. And it's amazing because after writing my book, it only took me less than a month to write my entire book and published it within a couple months later. And it's amazing how once I let go of that fear that was really, really deep seated inside of me of this people pleasing really is what it was. Yeah, that's really what it was. And what was really interesting is as soon as I wrote my book, amazing things started happening. I wrote a book, and then I got onto a radio show, and then I started doing a podcast, and I realized I like talking to people. This is really fun. I can do this, you know? And then I started going even more into new things and even more new ventures. And so now I run about 7 companies total. And I wouldn't have done any of that if I would not have been able to get over my fears. And in today's society and where we're at with the world of the chaos of 2020, because I don't know how else to call it anything other than that, conquering fears is really important, especially right now.
Oh, absolutely. Conquering them and being able to live with them even, it's when there's a slight fear of the unknown of what's happening. Your book, I just wanted to touch on. So that was Women of Perfection, Perfect Imperfection?
Perfectly Imperfect.
Perfectly Imperfect. Sorry. Yeah, that was the book that you've written. And you've very generously said that we can put up a link up where people can get a free download of the book.
Absolutely, yes. I want to offer that to your listeners if they're interested. We'll go ahead and provide the link to anybody who's interested.
Oh, that is very kind of you. Thank you. Very generous. So that is that the book of your kind of story up to.
It is.
Like the last couple of years.
It's actually more about it does talk about my story and some of the things I went through, but more than anything it was more of a self-discovery book. So it's more a motivational self-discovery journaling experience where honestly you look deep as you're reading it and you're really asked questions that you're thinking, oh wow, I haven't asked myself that question before. And then you journal about how you feel about that question. And every single chapter is built to where you can really elevate yourself to new levels, that you didn't even know you could get to sometimes. And it talks about everything from core beliefs to manifestations to goal orientation, like the whole 9 yards. And what's really great is it's just things that I've learned over the last 30 years that's helped me to figure out success. And I'm just trying to share what I've learned with other people.
Yeah. So did you source any material going through those last 30 years? There was things that you read, books you read, or things you've watched, or to actually develop this mindset? Because I know a lot of people, when we talk to a lot of people we talk to, they get triggered by The Secret film. God, nearly 20 years ago now, I think, isn't it? And that became, and you've got your Tony Robbins's and all those sorts of things. So was it that type of environment that you were looking for?
Yeah. So really what it was is I really just wanted to tell people what I had learned about. And there's several sources cited, like several different books that have helped me, different suggestions of, hey, check out this, or different quotes from different people that, you wouldn't think of as somebody who could be considered inspirational. I mean, all kinds of random different things that really helped me kind of throughout the years. And what's really interesting is I didn't even know there was a thing called of like life coaching and like of that motivational world until I had about 8 years ago met my mentor, but then he turned me on and showed me Napoleon. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his last name.
Napoleon Hill.
I'm sorry?
Napoleon Hill, or
Yes, Napoleon Hill. Yes, and so I read the book, the main book, which I'm drawing a blank on right this second too. But I read his books, and then I learned about Tony Robbins, and then I learned about Mel Robbins, and then I read all of these different people, and I was like, this is a thing. Like, I love this. This is so much fun. We're just sitting here trying to help people consistently by showing them positive things that we've learned. And that's all we're doing here. And this is amazing. I'm loving it. And I learned so much. I mean, every single thing, I would just soak up everything. And it's really great because so for a very long time, I had a 2-hour drive, like every single day. And so, and that time frame, instead of just listening to music or something, I always listened to something that would motivate me, or listen to something that would educate me, or something. I use it as an educational hour, actually, is what I would call it, on my way there, and an educational hour on my way back. And so with that time frame, I would listen to all of these really amazing coaches and amazing people who would tell just on YouTube, their life stories and how they overcame obstacles. And it's amazing because maybe not the whole thing can I remember all the time, but there's little tidbits from every single speaker that I'm like, that was brilliant. I'm so going to use that for myself. Or, oh, that one was really great. I'm so going to use that for myself. And so that's how I created my own motivational morning, and how I was able to really be okay with sharing my tips for the very first time ever without feeling bombarded by negativity.
Yeah, because I guess that's the thing, isn't it? I think when people, and you do see it, I know people, sad to say, that they talk the talk, but actually don't apply it to themselves. So by applying it for yourself and then talking about it, because you can demonstrate. It's one of those amazing things. I used to read a ton of books. I was flying from Germany to the UK regularly a few years ago. So I was in airports, and it was like prime place to read, because in those days you couldn't put your electronic stuff on in a plane. And I was consuming all these books. They were what we would call positive mental attitude books. And if I told people about it, they'd go, "Oh yeah, that's the sort of thing the Americans do." Because we're British, so we don't do that sort of thing. But, you just can't help some of it. It does rub off, and it's quite amazing. Yes, Think and Grow Rich, wasn't it, Napoleon Hill?
Yes, thank you. That's what it was.
Yeah, I remember reading it on a plane. Definitely, I think I've read it a few times. Actually, it's one of my faves. So going back to what we were just talking about, the current situation where we do, you brilliantly described it as chaos. Yeah, how did you help people deal with that? I mean, that's just a good point. How on that score, on your empowerment and your ability to help people, what would working with you be like? So if someone joined the Power Hour or something like that, what would that look like to them to help them through?
Yeah, absolutely. So I absolutely call 2020 the chaos year, right? So in the UK, it may be a little different than in the United States. And the United States will be a little bit different than Germany, and each different places, right? Every place is a little bit different, but we're all still dealing with a pandemic, right? There's nobody that's not dealing with it in some shape or form, at least hear about it, right? But in the United States, we're also seeing other things like hurricanes come in. California has like half the state's on fire right now. It's just crazy. We have an election year, which everything in political goes a little bit crazy. We have killer bees, all things. We have, just so many random things have happened in this 2020 year that are so negative that it's so easy to get into a very negative state. And when you get into that negative state, it turns into a constant thing if you don't stop yourself. If you don't say, nope, I'm not going to be negative. This is going to be a positive thing because of this. One of the things that has helped me and many other people in this world of 2020 is honestly seeing what is causing the fear, what is causing your anxiety, or your overall just this weight on your shoulders, right? See what it is that's making you feel that way. So for example, if it's finance, you're saying, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay my rent? Okay, well, that's a great question, because what if there's so many people right now that aren't working, right? So you have to pinpoint what are the causes, what are the reasons you're feeling that way, like so freaked out by this, right? And it's a parent, right? What the cause is it's because we want a place to live, right? But the reality is there's a deeper core thing going on. There's usually a core issue that links back to that fear that says I'm not going to have a place to live, as opposed to fighting it and saying I'm going to find a different job, I'm going to pivot, I'm going to do all these different things. So the first thing you have to realize is what that trigger was that got you to that fear. Then figure out what that core belief is that has like really festered inside of you. And then that next level is, okay, so how do I conquer this fear and solve the problem? How do I create this plan to solve the problem? Okay, well, if I can't pay for it right now, how can I fix it?
Yeah.
It could just be getting a new job. It could be pivoting your business. It could even be, hey, I'm going to call the landlord or the mortgage company. Can I put this on hold because of the pandemic? There's so many different opportunities right now. Even in your 401k IRA, there's, especially in the United States right now, there's so many different new and different avenues to where you can take money out and not be taxed like you were before. I mean, there's so many different world things right now that can change that perspective. So recognize the problem. After recognizing the problem, figure out the core belief that has linked it to that problem, and then figure out a way to solve the problem and then take action. Because once you get to that action, you're good to go. Now let's talk a little bit about Empower Hour, like you had asked me.
Yeah.
Now, how we at Empower, we go over all these things, of course, during each different group meeting, and we talk about back and forth, hey, I'm going through this. How do I fix this? We also talk a lot about, you know what, I need a job. Like, does anybody know in this network know of a job that's open? And we say, oh, I do. How about this one right here? Or what about this? Or, hey, you know what, I need a place to live. Does anybody have a house that I can rent or buy or whatever? Great. So it's a great networking group because we do all of these different things. And that also includes helping people who are homeless. So one of my biggest passions is helping homeless women and children. And you can see why, because of my my childhood, right? So the nonprofit that I'm a president of actually gets in donations. And we at Empower Hour literally take it to the streets and get them food or supplies for hygiene, or it could be even getting them a place to live or a car to drive or a job. We've helped in so many different ways because you know what, like this world, we're not here in this world to keep taking and taking and taking. We're here in this world to give and help people all around us, because as that's happening, we are also getting something in return. You know, it may not be monetarily, but something, there's always a flow, and it depends on where that energy is going.
You know, and that's a big lesson. Anyone who's watched these shows before, I'm hoping that lesson is coming through loud and clear. I don't think you can get any clearer. Yeah, that's amazing. And so on the Power Hour, is that done? Again, we're talking about pivoting. So is that done all online? Is that like through Zoom calls? Because you must have pivoted. You're saying as a public speaker, you know, you can't speak in public right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So for the first 3 years of Empower Hour, we were all in person. We started with one little branch. Honestly, all this came from was me and a girlfriend saying, all I want to be is around women who are amazing and sweet and not judgmental and just support one another. That's all we wanted. And in our very first meeting, which it turned into almost 60 women. And I was like, well, apparently we're not the only ones who feel this way, you know? And then it ended up turning into a second branch and so on and so forth. And now we have a bunch of branches throughout the entire United States, and then also a bunch around the world that are trying to open up in the middle of this pandemic. And they're all done through Zoom right now. And then when we're allowed to see people in person, we may still keep some Zoom calls, but we may still also do a bunch of in-person meetings again, because some people really want that personal interaction, and other people prefer being able to just do it online. So there's a lot of different opportunities within Empower to really be able to reach out to with other women who are very like-minded and want to just be a part of your life with nothing but love and support, and not, you know, any judgment or cattiness, and really honestly just you know, just be there when you feel like you have no one else.
Oh, I mean, that must be amazing. I'm so glad you're doing it worldwide. I think there'd certainly be an appetite in the UK. I know that there's many women's business groups, but I'm not sure they're so supportive as that sort of network. But yeah, no, fantastic. And what a lovely thing just to be able to do it with your girlfriend, and then next thing you know, but again, that would be part of your passion. And
yeah, exactly. And it was really surprising when that happened. I was extremely surprised to see how many people felt the exact same way about really wanting that extra support, you know?
Oh, that's brilliant. And also kind of a perfect time to mention the book you're co-authoring that's coming out. I know there's two. Your book coming out, I think, on the 1st of September, Empowered Women of Empowered Hour. So how would people be able to get a hold of a copy of that? Is that going to be online, published on Amazon, or?
Yeah, it will be on Amazon by book, like actual physical copy, and then it will also be on Kindle as well, and it will be around the world.
Oh, brilliant! We'll put links up to that as well. And also, you said you got your 365 Days Secret, another co-authored book.
Yeah, so that one's really unique because we have authors from all around the world that literally just talked about their little secrets that made them successful. I mean, it's genuinely amazing. And we even though it's not published yet, we've already won a Golden Ticket Award, which is kind of phenomenal. It's a book award. And it's not even published yet. I thought that was pretty cool. So a lot of really great things can happen as long as you have a positive mindset, you keep moving forward. And that's what these books are all about, is motivation, seeing that people can come from anywhere in the world and come together and see motivation and positivity. Or women who go through all different kinds of things. I mean, we have women who have gone through, some really rough things and have overcome them, and then share their stories about how they overcame them, so that way other people can learn how they can overcome their situations. It's just amazing.
Yeah, actually, can I ask, do you think, slightly left of field this one, I know, but do you think that there will be, or is there like a men's group for the same thing? Because we were chatting just before we came on here. Well, we're on here talking about, stay-at-home mums or stay-at-home dads, and the kind of gender changing roles. Do you think there might be a need for a male version, or is there a male version?
I don't know of a male version that's exactly like Empower Hour, honestly. I would love to see one, but I haven't seen one yet. But I do know that there are a lot of men who love the idea of Empower Hour and would love to be a part of it.
Yeah, are they not allowed?
They are.
On a ban?
They're allowed. It's just that they're going to have a very than a lot of the women that are in the group, So we're definitely not excluding people, because that's illegal in the United States. But and we don't want to get sued. But the other thing is we love all people. We just are a women's group because we relate to one another very well.
Yeah, no, I was slightly tongue in cheek, but I was slightly thinking I might start one in the UK.
You should! Oh my gosh, that'd be so much fun! I can show you how to do it.
I tell you what, I'm going to take you up on that. I think that could be an amazing thing. But what a great thing though, that that you're able to publish books, have the Empower Hours going in all this 2020 chaos, and still grow and thrive. And even because you've got your keynote to get the 2020 Business Women of Diversity Summer Summit next weekend. There's an old adage, if you ever want something done, give it to a busy person. I think you've got to be the epitome of a busy person. How do you actually time manage all this?
I'm very fortunate because I have a great support system. A family support system, friend support system, a great support system at every group that I'm a part of, or every business that I'm a part of. And then I also have a personal assistant and several assistants at my full-time job.
Oh, you make it sound so easy.
It is easy. You just got it,
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I was going to say, yes, just and finally, you touched on it, that you're married, you've got your husband, did you say 16 years?
Yeah.
And your two children. Where do you see the future? Like, I know we can't tell with what's going on right now. But yeah, how do you see the future for yourself and your family? What other things do you want to achieve and places you want to go?
Absolutely. So, I have a pretty big vision of where I want my life to go. I honestly see what I would love to see is to eventually become a big speaker on the stage with people to coach them, and then them to become coaches to then help more people. One of my biggest things in this world is, me personally, I can't do everything by myself. It's not possible. But if I train somebody else or show somebody else how to do something, they can show somebody else, they can show someone else, and so on and so forth. And that is how we're going to make a difference in this world, is we personally can't do everything, but we can sure make a difference in somebody's life that then can change somebody else's life, and so on and so forth. And so where I see my life going is helping people to my very, very best ability with my books, with my speaking engagements, podcasts, and I plan on growing Desert Capital even bigger, as well as our little Empower Hour group, women's empowerment group, and maybe even and hopefully even our nonprofit that we help not women and children on the streets. Like, my goal is to continue to grow all of that, and then I also run several other businesses outside of what we've already talked about, and maybe continue those too. I mean, my biggest thing though is I just want to help people. That's all I care about. And my kids are involved in pretty much everything I do. They get to see the homeless women and children. They get a chance to be a part of helping people so they can see the difference that we're trying to make. Not just me, but we as a family are trying to make.
Oh, wow. They'll get such a great grounding. That's a lovely thing. And actually, just very quickly, I just wanted to touch on, so where the pandemic has hit, has that hit Desert Capital Management? And
we
had to do the way you do things around? Or?
Well, I mean, we haven't had anybody get sick at our firm, but we have had to work from home more. Or mostly, we're not allowed to meet clients anymore because most of our clients are over 60 for the most part. So we have to take safety precautions to make sure nobody gets hurt. I mean, even though I don't feel sick, you never know, you might be sick. So it's a safe than sorry type situation. And the markets in themselves are very interesting dynamic, to say the least. And so we at the firm have made some very massive changes for the investors as well. So it just, honestly, the pandemic has changed a lot about the financial world, and it's going to change it even more.
Yeah, but just to stay positive, be flexible, I guess. And very finally, what would your advice be to someone starting out, looking at changing their lives? What would your advice be to them?
My advice is 100% fix yourself first. Stop. So what I mean by that is yes, help people. That is very important. But if you are not happy, if your cup is not full, you can't help other people to your very best ability. And I know that sounds a little bit selfish, but the reality is if you wake up and you take an hour to yourself every single morning and you do positive affirmations, you do take a little run, you do certain things that make you very positive, start a positive day, it's amazing how then that rest of the day continues positive, and you can be a positive influence to everybody else around you. So if you make that first change for yourself and fill your own cup first and start fixing the things that you have to fix on yourself, it's amazing how when your cup is filled, you sometimes not even intentionally are constantly helping other people. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think you've that's the most perfect explanation of how to start your day with intention, because positivity attracts positivity. And yeah, I think that's amazing. Stephanie, thank you so much. You've been such an amazing guest. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Guys, we are back next week with yet more amazing business owners. So stay tuned and we will see you next week. But just very lastly,